if somebody, when the motion's made, just to remove.
All right, fine, get a motion for, with the, correction that, Ms. Washington spoke out. All right, I have a motion second to adopt the agenda with the correction for number 1 under new business being eliminated. All those in favor? Aye. All right, all those opposed, same sign. Petition from the public.
There are none.
Okay. Approval of minutes from regular meeting held, April 19th, 2019, and also approval of minutes for the special held meeting, April 15th, 2019.
Someone approved.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5 vote.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Would you defer and pledge, please?
Thank you very much. Would you be so kind?
Sure. Let's stand, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us, and we thank you for the many blessings you provide us each day. Pray that you be with each and every person represented here today, that the business before this board is pleasing in your sight. They ask that you reach down your healing hand on anyone that is sick and distressed, that they may be comforted any time the sickness they may have. We ask that you be with our first responders and our military, Lord, and protect them as they protect us. In all these names we say, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please accept my apology. Sorry, you carried away there. All right, reports for constitutional officers, Sheriff?
Nothing right now, thank you.
All right, any other constitutional officers? I don't think I see any more back there. Okay. All right, motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, opposed, same sign. Okay, we have no unfinished business. Looks like we have nothing on public works. We'll move on down to new business. We have the proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and I see some nice dispatchers just walked in to join us. Appreciate Terry Limbs and her group coming out, be with us. Oh, yeah. If you'll pass the proclamation over, I might ask clerk to read it.
Alright, this proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 14th through the 20th, 2019. Whereas emergencies are occurring all the time that require law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics/EMTs is critical to the protection and preservation of life and property. And whereas the safety of our law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics/EMTs is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Madison County Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics/EMTs by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with critical information and ensuring their safety. And whereas the professional and caring public safety telecommunicators of Madison County have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has and continues to exhibit compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their jobs, therefore be it resolved that the Madison County Board of County Commissioners declares the week of April 14th to the 20th, 2019 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Madison County, and honor the men and women whose diligence, compassion, and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. signed in the regular session this 24th day of April 2019.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Pass 5-0. We'll, let get a picture with.
Sure.
All right.
Terry, would you like to introduce the
Yeah,
people
Terry.
that you have with you today?
Yeah.
First and foremost, we'd like to thank y'all for doing the proclamation. I know that really makes our department happy, and we really appreciate all y'all's support. These are the young ladies that just got off shift. We have other ones coming in that weren't able to come because they do have to man the station. This is Amy Pitts, Marisol, and I apologize. She has this name that is like, yeah. And Sarah Abbott, and we just greatly appreciate the recognition. It means a lot to us. Our sheriff and our command staff, showed us our praises last week, and it just means something when it comes from the public as well, and from you guys.
I just wanna thank y'all for what all y'all do, 'cause I know it ain't an easy job, but y'all do a good job, and just thank y'all.
And I'd like to echo that. I've been in there, I've seen what y'all do, and it's, I have heard you, I live right behind, I know when Lifeline comes in 24/7. And, I wanna thank you personally for everything y'all do. You do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanna ditto what's been said. It's got to be a stressful job, but I know y'all get a lot of strange calls sometime, and, I know you're very helpful to the public, because when there's situations out there that come up, and people automatically dial 911. So, and I'm glad we have that system here in Madison County.
I want to say the same thing. There's sometimes I do monitor the scanner, and I listen to, sometimes when the deputies are out trying to locate a problem or whatever, you guys are the calming force sometimes that brings them back and helps them find where they need to be, and is their anchor, so we appreciate what you do.
Thank y'all so much. I know that y'all have a lot of different radios out in front of you, and keyboards and all, and having to communicate between EMS and fire and law enforcement all at the same time. It's very, very difficult to juggle all the things you do each day, and I know it's very stressful, but thank you so much.
Yes, sir, I do wanna mention a couple of things about these guys. They are truly special guys. This is only 1/3 of them. I can tell you that these, our communications people have more contact with the public than any other person in the sheriff's office. And, you talk about the number of calls. I mean, I know the deputies are averaging between 75 and 100 calls, and that's only the deputies. That's not the police department, fire department, and all the other stuff that goes on. And when you listen to a scanner, you're only listening to a little small amount of what's going on behind the scenes. If you've been down there to the communication center, there's like 4 screens that each of them are sitting at, and plus the phone, plus the FDIC, NCIC, all those other things they have to be certified in, and conduct themselves with daily. I mean, it literally takes almost a year for someone to get where they're comfortable sitting at one of those stations by themselves. I can tell you that these people are very important to me, and they're very special to us, and we do take care of them. And I'll hurt your feelings real quick over them, so I don't mind doing that, because I can hire deputies. It's hard to hire deputies, but when you're trying to hire these guys and keep them in place is very important. We hired one of our most recent communications people came from Hamilton County, and I thought the sheriff from over there was gonna call me out to a gunfight. Yeah, we got the sheriff doing this. I mean, that's how serious this is. We appreciate these guys. What they do, I could stand here and tell you the rest of the day about that, but I can tell you, 1979, when I started in communications and in the jail down there, we had 4 dispatchers, and they were through the board. They were board department. Madeline Ginn used to write my checks. We only had 4. Now we have 12. And by God, it takes every one of them to keep up with it. I mean, the call ratios have changed so much, it's crazy. We're very needy people, and they deal with that. Fortunately, only a small portion of what they deal with gets translated into calls for the deputies, or the police department, or fire department. If they didn't triage all that, we'd never even think about keeping up. So if you ever, wonder what they do, feel free to come down one day and sit in there. I know recently one of the no-name storms that we had, not even a name storm, but a no-name storm, within a 2-day period, it was over, 2,000 or something calls they logged in there. It's constantly. And plus they have the interstate calls, the cell phone calls from the interstate, all of that, the passing through, all that goes straight to them. There's about 9 lines for that. So anyway, I could speak yours today, but I do appreciate y'all recognizing them. And, any chance that you get to, give them credit, I appreciate you doing that for sure.
Sheriff, I wanna thank you for your comments, because, I well remember 1979 when you started down there. It was 1980 when I started on reserve. And as you remember, we all used to pitch in, sometimes we get called in and just come and report the radio. I couldn't begin to do what these ladies do now. None of us could do what, it was a whole different game 25 years ago.
I don't even like going in there. I mean, that's just scary, going in there. It's just, but I can tell you this, we are in a whole lot better shape right now because of that building. When about 10 years ago, we were in an old office, in a little sick building that was causing everybody to get sick, and with the help of this board, with the help of some traffic ticket money and a grant, we've got that new building. And also for EMS. EMS was in a building that was falling down and full of mold. And these guys were in an old office, in my old office, matter of fact, down at the sheriff's office. So that transition that this county did with that new building out there, I'm gonna tell you, it's paid off, and it's been worthwhile, and it was certainly worth the effort, and I appreciate that. That's made, our ability so much better than what it was. But anyway, with that, I just wanted to say that, and I thank y'all, and you said you guys wanted to take a picture.
Let's get a picture with it. All right?
Anything that you guys just to line up over here?
Oh, wait a minute. Well, I thought we were getting a picture with the nicest ladies and what are you doing
Yeah. Okay, this is nothing personal, but if I can get the commissioners in the back and
You're not.
the better looking people up front.
Can I make a suggestion?
Well, he said the better looking people
Yeah,
up front.
yeah, that'll
Some of y'all can sit, some of y'all can sit. Let's look over room. Nobody wants to sit? Get us all in the picture. I guess.
I've been sitting all day.
All right.
I ain't tried.
That's your annoying.
Let's see. Okay, can I get you from right up here?
Good effort.
I know.
There you go.
Well, maybe you'll block out.
Okay. Now, Austin, if you move that way just a little bit. There you go. There you go. Okay. Now, look this way and smile. 1, 2, 3. And a couple more. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on down to number 3. Mr. Willoughby, step forward. West Nile virus.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I, thought you guys might want a, update on the situation. And actually, West Nile virus is mentioned, but we're more concerned about the triple E virus. So that's what I'll be focusing on. Just to recap what transpired. So on the afternoon of April the 8th, I was informed that we had a horse in Madison County that tested positive for triple E. And then I found out it tested positive for West Nile as well. So that was kind of weird. Because of the triple E, the horse had to be euthanized. And triple E is pretty much fatal to the horse. Of course, we know that that's the Eastern equine encephalitis virus, and it's transmitted by mosquitoes. So anytime we have something like that, it kind of triggers a certain protocol in our department. So our protocol is to go out, survey the area for mosquitoes using CDC traps, baited with dry ice. That's so we can collect specimens. And then we ID and count the individual mosquitoes that come from those 5 traps. And then we verify that that we do indeed have the vector mosquito, the one that's transmitting the virus. And then the next thing is we go out and we treat the area with adulticide. We spray it. So that's what we did. And the next thing that we're gonna do is a post-spray analysis. So we'll go back out, put our traps back out, and see what we have left out there. So on April 9th, we did place 5 CDC traps, and we went within a half-mile radius of what we'll call ground zero, where the horse was. And so on April 10th, those traps were collected. The mosquito species were counted and ID'd in-house by David Sykes. He's my part-time helper, and he is awesome at IDing and all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate y'all letting me have him on board. So he did count the mosquitoes, and we had 158 total out of 5 traps. And that's really not a lot. That's kind of low for this time of year. However, out of that number, 158, 151 was the type of mosquito that transmits this virus. So we knew we had at least the mosquito that does transmit it. We know it's here because we've got a dead horse from it. So that caused us to go ahead and spray the area. So we did a spray on April 10th, the 11th, and we also went back on the 14th. We treated a total of 1,876 acres, and that's from our truck-mounted ULB unit. And we did that in and around ground zero. So, within a mile or 2, which is the flight radius of this mosquito. Treatment of this area is ongoing, so we're not done yet. I'm just wanting to catch y'all what we've done thus far. And we'll be doing more spray. Like I said, we'll do our post-spray analysis once the treatments are finished. So some notes of interest in this area where this disease, where this virus popped up. In talking with the citizens in the area, they confirmed that there really hasn't been a mosquito problem there, at least in the last 10 years. One guy that lives at ground zero said, I haven't been in 10 years. He said, we just don't have mosquitoes here. And it makes sense because the area is very clear. There's not a lot of brush. It's open, it's farmland. And it's about a mile as a crow flies from the river. So they really don't have a huge mosquito problem there. So looking for techniques to get rid of this mosquito, we look at source reduction. There really isn't any sources there that they're not breeding them in buckets, or there's not a lot of standing water there. So the only thing we can figure is that it's coming from the tributaries or the low-lying areas around the river, where it's kind of marshy and swampy, places we can't really get to from the road. And so therefore, it's going to be tough for us to eliminate the mosquitoes at the source. So that's why we're doing a heavy treatment of the area. So that's where we are as of the 23rd. So we're still battling it, and I think it's just an isolated incident. And the fact that it tested positive for both triple E and West Nile is interesting because there's only one mosquito that transmits both viruses, and we didn't find that one. So in talking with David, he says that, what's probably happened is, over the years, horses, get exposed to different stuff just from being in the environment. So it would depend on the test how sensitive it was, and it may have picked up cases of West Nile virus from, previous, exposure. West Nile virus is not that fatal on horses. It's more fatal to people, but Triple E will kill it. So I don't really think we're looking at West Nile, I think we're looking more at Triple E in this area. So that's where we are. Any questions or comments or anything?
Look what we did. Is a horse raised here? Was it brought in from another area? I guess that's my question is it possible that it was bitten somewhere else?
That's a very good question. And in fact, that's one of the first questions we asked was, is this a local transmission or was this brought in? And in talking with the people who lived there, the horse was 11 years old, so it was a young horse. All the horses were unvaccinated. They were vaccinated 3 years ago, but there's about 6 total. They were all on that property for at least the last 3 years. And probably longer. It's just the guy that was there said he'd only been working there for 3 years and he knew the horse hadn't been moved or anything. So I do feel it's a local transmission, but that's a good question because that does make a huge difference.
Well, thank you very much. Any other questions from commissioners?
Okay, I brought some information there, and everybody feel free to grab some. It just has to do with the mosquitoes living in Florida and the types of insecticides that are good for abatement. Because there's a lot of stuff out there now it just doesn't work. So it's good to have stuff that's been researched and proven. So. But we will continue to do what we do, and then maybe in a couple weeks I can come back and give you the final analysis and let you know how.
Just real quick, the life cycle I see here is 20 to 30 days on those.
On that mosquito, it's a little bit longer lived mosquito than normal. So yeah, about a month on average, and then maybe a little
So as long
longer.
as we kind of do that retreatment within that 30-day life cycle.
Right, yes, sir. What is recommended is, once you have that proven, and that's the thing, we don't have to send them off for sampling or anything like that, because we know it's there to kill the horse. So we know it's there. So we were able to get on this within, I don't know what the turnaround time is for the blood test, but probably a week. So a week from, the time it died, we were able to start, treatment. So that's pretty good. Usually it's a 46-week turnaround time for mosquito control response. So we're doing good on that. As for the, life cycle, yeah, I would say probably the rest of this month on into May, we're gonna keep on doing what we do.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your help. All right, we'll move on down to number 4 under new business, the health department, the old health department building. Brian, I think you and Kim both want to present that. Or?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. On the West Nile, case.
Yeah.
We try to keep the public up to date by using our Facebook, page. It was kind of interesting last week, some of our posts that we had put, sometimes you can see how often they're viewed by people and shared. Sometimes some things may only be shared 200 or 300, 400 times. That particular one was shared last week, 7,500 people had viewed that, notice we had put on Facebook. The largest one we've had was when, the sheriff's, department had to recover the body out of Cherry Lake.
Yeah.
That one got shared. It was up in the last time I looked, it was up in the 15,000 mark of being shared. So it's amazing how Facebook can actually reach a lot of people, and this one in particular, the case with the eastern encephalitis and the West Nile was out 7,500 times as of last week. So just to let you know that people do get that information.
Good.
On the old health department, I've been working with Miss Albritton over the last year or so, and seeing what we could do to try to get everybody into the new health department. They moved into the new health department a few years back, and she was able to remodel some places in the new health department to make room for the WIC program, which had been in the old health department. So they were able to complete that, move here within the last month, and so we wanted to bring it to your attention that this building is now, vacant, and to just try to get some ideas on what we wanna do with it. We've also, Sherilyn was able to get, and put at your desk tonight, the power bill, from Duke Energy over the last 2 years. Power bill's been running around $380 to $390 a month. It's dropped off this last year because there hasn't been many people in the building, but the prior 2 years, it was running around $380, $390 a month. And they've also included the, utilities, which is the water and sewer from the city of Madison, to give you some idea on what it costs to keep that building going. Also, there's additional cost, the landscaping, that's maintained, and the health department's gonna keep that up for the next couple months, until their contract expires. And so I just wanted to kind of bring it to the board's attention that this building is there. If you wanna surplus it. It's about a 5,000 square foot building, built in 1969, so it's 50 years old, this year. We do have a small leak in the back, south corner of the building, and we're working with the fellow that had re-roofed it a few years back about coming in and fixing that. I think it's still under warranty. We're working with him to see if it's still under warranty. And in your package, there is a floor plan of the building. Sherilyn's got it up here on the monitors. And had been busted into a couple different offices over time. Hospice was in there, and several other people have used the buildings. So you can almost use it as two separate office buildings. On that photo, it'd be one to the right and one to the left. The leak is in the back, be the left-hand side as you're looking at that. The upper left corner is where the roof leak is that we need to fix. We have had a couple nonprofits contact me about it. One lady was gonna be here tonight, but I don't think she
called me right at 5 and said
Okay.
she had a family emergency.
Okay.
Tina Johnson, she wasn't gonna be able to make it, but she did call.
Okay, good. So we do have some people that are interested in it, but one thing, of course, we wanna make sure that if somebody is gonna take the building over, I think we wanna make sure that they're able to take over all the costs associated with the building, because there is ongoing cost to be able to maintain a building like that. We wanna just kinda open it up to the board to see what the board's thoughts were on whether to surplus it or, what you wanted to do with it. We really don't have a need for it permanently, office-wise. We've got enough office space for the people that we have, and so we really don't have a use for it in office space-wise.
My suggestion would be that I sit, as you know, on the hospital board for the county. They are looking at an urgent care facility. I think they're gonna be talking to the board of directors with the First Methodist Church about the old, Bank of America building that the church now owns there adjacent to the city hall across the street there. And I think that's what they want, because it'd be a town more. But I think if we talk to, Ms. Stevens and the hospital board about possibly using that building as an attraction for some doctors to come in, if they can get some doctors to come into Madison, which I know they're desperately working on doing, that building might be something they could use as a doctor's offices for. That, I think, would be the most advantageous, unless we can find some other group that wants, and again, can make the payments, like you said, to upkeep the building.
Well, that's a good idea, but why don't we just sell it, not get rid of it? Put it on the.
I don't have a problem with that either, if that's, yeah, but if we can, if you want to put it on the market, just let's try to sell it. That might be one of the best things to do, but I think, I mean, it's kinda already set up for a medical type of.
Right. But even if we did put it on the market, we're gonna have to keep air conditioning going, is that correct?
Right, you have to keep the building up
Yeah.
and keep it going or it'll deteriorate. And I believe, you know, that's why Ms. Albritton has been trying to consolidate and, you know, we all are throughout the county are trying to consolidate and save money where we can. And, I appreciate them doing that, trying to get everybody into the new building but that leaves this building, and so then we need to make a decision on what we wanna do. If we do wanna sell it, maybe we wanna get an appraisal on it,
Well,
kinda see
yeah.
what it's worth.
You would need to first, that would be first having been in real estate before, you would need to get an appraisal, and I think, although we have some very fine real estate people here, I think we need somebody who specializes in a commercial type building, to look at it, as far as maybe listing it, because of the actual things that are in that building that could be a benefit. And I'm not suggesting, it may be a lot of other things besides medical, but it has been a professional building in the past, so I think, but we think we definitely need an appraisal on, for sure.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
excuse me, if a motion is in order, my motion would be to declare surplus, and we have an appraisal done, and let's put it on the market.
Okay. Do I have a second for the motion? Hearing no second for the motion, I guess fails.
I guess, if I may, Mr. Chair, I was sitting there thinking, is this something that Crawford can use whenever he's out doing what he does, reaching out through MCDC and our economic development partners? Would it be suitable for light manufacturing or some type of, like you say, commercial use in that area? I respect what the chair says about the medical benefit. I think that's also, an option. But open it up for.
I don't believe it would be useful for manufacturing. The requests that we get from most manufacturers are large steel buildings with open span, where people can move. The other thing also you're dealing with, there's kind of limited parking in that facility. So there's, if it was manufacturing where trucks needed to come in and out, it's not very conducive for that type of activity. But as far as if somebody was looking for office space and wanted to do sales, phone sales or something like that, just as office space, yeah, but not for manufacturing.
Well, I know we'd entertained some folks in the past, even on our land out here in Lee, for small buildings such as this right here, or if it was nothing more than taking in components, putting those few components together and turning around and then marking them back out again. Either through milling and such as that. I'm not trying to say I'm envisioning like a potato chip plant, but just like light manufacturing where you take in a few components. We had the overseas company one time, talking to us about taking one component on a clock, and that's what they did, is put those together and then ship it right back out again.
Right. I'm not saying there's nobody that could use it. I mean, there might be somebody, but anybody that we've ever had contact us, we even show them the blue building that we have down there. And most of the time, they say, this isn't enough clear span, or this isn't enough, storage room. They want 22-foot eave heights on their building so they can palletize, stuff in there. So I mean, from the requests that we've had in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been here, it wouldn't fit any of those needs. Because like I said, we show them the blue building any chance we get, and that's not high enough ceilings and not, the girders or the posts in that building are too close together for most of it.
Well, Commissioner Davis has got a point though, and I'm wondering, I'm kind of thinking outside the box here. Does Crawford ever have any other kind of, and I know we sort of seem to always be looking for the big manufacturing plants that we put into LSD or something big to use for the blue building or something like that. And we're happy to have the mattress factory coming and all that. But what about other kind of businesses that aren't necessarily manufacturing something, but maybe looking for, I don't know, home sales or whatever, but could, you know, I think about Ralph Gray's business, and he one time had where our carpenter had his airplane parts business, and he used that building, you know, I'm thinking maybe there's something other than just manufacturing. If, I don't know what Crawford, if he's just looking strictly at manufacturing, or is he looking at other kinds of businesses that we could attract into Madison?
We look for everything.
Well,
And we reply to everything that the
Yeah.
state sends us, but,
Right.
but again, what, they're looking for steel buildings. And,
Okay.
and something similar to what's in the industrial park, where
Yeah.
the real wood, building used to be located,
Right.
that's, and even that one doesn't have high enough eave heights for a lot of them. They want,
Mhm.
they want that 22-foot eave height where they can double stack the pallets there, so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just going from what our responses have been and what we've showed people is this building would not be
Yeah.
suitable. Now for telephone marketing sales or something like that, you can maybe do it because you're basically looking at just offices, little
Yeah,
tiny
yeah,
offices.
That's what I'm saying, just some kind of business that utilizes just office space, not big warehouse.
Right.
And I don't know whether, you know, if there is any kind of business like that that'd be interested in coming here, but I guess that, and what, again, goes back to what I said about, you know, I know the hospital wants to find more doctors because they want to eventually get the surgical end of the hospital going so they can produce more money there. And that's first thought that comes to mind because of the fact that it hasn't been used, but, you know, thinking outside the box, trying to think of something other than just big manufacturing, what could that building be used for? And, you know, just either selling it or leasing it. We need to get it moved somehow, do something with it. Not,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
kind of moving in that direction, I think before we do anything, we talked about getting an appraisal. We need to know what the building's worth. If it's something that we want to try to hold on to, or something we wanna salvage, we really don't know what the value of that building is,
Well,
50-year-old building.
the original motion from Commissioner Moore was to get an appraisal and do that, and I think, you know.
Well, do we have to have a surplus before we do an appraisal?
Do we have to have it?
I
Can we
don't
just
know.
do the appraisal first, and then you can make your decision where you wanna surplus it, or what, you gotta know what it's worth before you do anything.
I don't see why we can't do just an appraisal of it. We don't have, but then we can, once we get an appraisal number, then we can talk about whether we want to surplus or what we want to put it on the market for sale or
Would you need
whatever.
a motion just to have an appraisal done?
We would.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we do an appraisal and see what the value of the building is.
I second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second to get an appraisal of the old health department building. Do I have further discussion?
Well, just to add to that, Mr. Chair, I think, my way of thinking, if we just get it off our inventory, that'll take away the insurance that we're paying on it, is that correct? And utilities and whatever other expenses that might be associated with it. But we need to keep that in mind also.
Well, as you pointed out though, if we were to decide to, after we got an appraisal of the building, if we decide to put it on the market for sale, which right now we're not saying we are, but if we were, we would have to keep the utilities going because of the, air conditioning. So, keep that in mind. All right,
Just one other comment, there was a possibility of advertising it as an incubator site for small business to get them off their feet and running. I know the town of Lee does